I'm Gail Harvey. The film is Looking as the Original Sin, and I'm the writer, director, and producer, along with Katie Boland and Maria Del Mar. Looking as the Original Sin is a story that was inspired by the life of Diane Arbus and my life as a photographer, which is what I did for a long time before I started directing. And it's a mother-daughter story about does art take you away from your family? What does it mean? What do you have to sacrifice? And it's a mother-daughter story about love and loss and life, and art.
Mm.
It encompasses a lot of things that I thought of for many, many years. I've been thinking about the film for about 20 years, so it's a real relief to have it at the Carlton on November 22nd. A dream come true, not a relief, a dream come true.
Your daughter is Katie, and she's
Yes,
playing Anna in the movie.
yes.
And you wrote it. I'm assuming there's a lot of. I'm very close with my mother, and there's a lot of beautiful magnetic tension and connection as well.
Tension and love, right?
Yeah, tell me a little bit about developing the story. That one of the traps I find, Ingrid Veneger, of course.
I do.
Yeah, so one of the things that she says is people come up to her and say, "You're not like you were in
Is
the
that
movie."
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, people always say, I think it's like Katie says, that's like my mom, but my mom's not crazy. Well,
Yeah. So
but
where does the you fit in, and where does it not fit in?
um, a lot of the stuff about photography is all me, I would say. And the mother-daughter relationship, I would say the closeness, the love. One of the questions, one of the things I thought, what would it be like if your daughter tried to take on your life? That often happens as mothers and daughters go through time. I think that a daughter's trying on for size, maybe her mother's life, see if it'll work. In this case, the daughter was always the parent. I don't think that was the case in our life at all. But Katie and I have always been very close, and Katie's always been very grown up for her age. And I hung out a lot with both my kids. My son's also an artist, so I always encouraged them to just do whatever they wanted to do. And in the film, that's not really the case. I also, when I was starting out as a photographer, I was rep by an agency in New York that Diane Arbus's daughter worked for as well. And I often wondered what would it have been like for her.
Mm.
Because Diane Arbus is a photographer that I really admire. It's not a biopic or anything like that, but it's just someone whose life and art took them away from their family. I think in many ways that happened with her, and it's a theme. It's a question for all women that I know that work passionately about something. You're always going, oh, but I had to leave my kids at home if I do this, and so it's like, what if the art kind of took over? So what happens in the story is that she leaves the house, and the daughter is parenting really in many ways because she's so passionate about her work and her art that she goes out at night and she goes somewhere away, completely away from all the things that were expected of her. And I think women often, there are a lot of expectations about how you should mother and how you should be, and I was just exploring all those things.
Mm. I really thought it was interesting because Diane Arbus was, in my opinion, like not in the film, like you say, it wasn't a biopic, but there was an essence of her and an essence of her, like you say, her creative struggle, which I really thought was quite nice. And there was also a comparison, not in the movie, but in the literature about Whitney Houston and kind of, being so incredibly gifted in one area, and you see this a lot, no matter what the gender is, really creative people.
And go.
Yeah.
Yeah, is everyone creative crazy? I do think that there's maybe if you see too much in life, and maybe some people that are creative. I've read about mania and bipolar, and that there's those times when they grasp on, or certainly I believe when you're an artist, you channel a lot. And I often say that I think you can't think about it too much. If you're thinking too much, then you're going to miss it. But if you're being creative, and if you read a lot about creativity, many people say that, like they forgot what they wrote. It was like they weren't writing. A lot of writers say that. And I know when I took pictures, I just felt them. And when I direct a scene, I feel the scene more from my guts rather than analyzing it. I mean, sure, you do all the work and the homework and you figure it out. And I toiled over the script for a long time. and we remained true to the script, but I also like working a lot with actors and letting them bring stuff to the scenes as well. And Katie and Maria had played mother and daughter before, so they were very close. They did a series called Terminal City and actually lived together in Victoria when Katie was 16, turning 17. So they have a history, and I believe everything reads, you know, on the screen, all the past histories of people and trouble on the set that day, whatever. I mean, it's an amazing thing to pull everything together, and you get the essence of the actors and what they had in their life and, you know, in my life. And also this concept that I had, like what was it like for Diane Arbus? I also really admire her work a lot, and I'm not comparing my photography work to hers, but other people have, you know, so when I did a lot of photo exhibits and stuff. So just, I think it's more like looking at the human experience, which is what I think I always try to do in my work.
Which, speaking of which, on November 22nd at the Carlton, you will be also doing an exhibit of your work. Is it at the Carlton?
Right. Yes, you know, you go in. I was so excited by that.
Yeah.
They asked me to do that. There's that big room on the left when you go into the Carlton. That's going to be all photos. So we have a big photo exhibit and opening. It's very exciting. A lot of the photos that are in the film and some photos I've taken after that, you know, I'm right now, that's what I'm working on now. I've had a lot of it in my head. There's like photos all over the place around here, trying to figure out exactly what I want to say in the photo exhibit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's a great combo of everything that I love.
Yeah. I wish that could travel across the country with the movie, you know, take the pictures with it, you know, because it would be a nice interactive thing, because you see the pictures and quite often they're a quick snap in the movie. So it'd be nice to kind of go back and assess them. And a lot of them are like pictures that you took of Katie over the years, you know, that are, you know, kind of, you know, part of the story.
So I'm trying to decide if I should put those in, because that's a statement on photography. When I traveled with Terry Fox when he was running across Canada, when he died, those photos became so valuable for everyone across Canada, because, you know, were moments in his life. I tried to do sort of more behind the scenes stuff. I had him running, but also in bed and, you know, playing with his brother, throwing food at each other, something, just different things. So you could see what his personality was like. So photography is about that. It's about trying to stop time and trying to capture life and trying to grab a little bit of it, you know. So and it was great. When I first started thinking about this film, Katie was like 3 or 5 years old or something like that. So it's interesting how it took me a long time. I mean, it's very much an art film, so I didn't think I'd be able to get it funded, and then I'd be busy doing other stuff. And I always went back to it, and it was always in the back of my head. And how beautiful that she became an actress, which I didn't know, and now she could play the part, because then I could use all the photos that I'd taken of her whole life. So,
I love that.
I should put some of I definitely should put some of those in the exhibit.
Yeah. Well, you can always tell a fake photo in a movie. I don't care. You can always tell. I don't care how good CGI is. You can always tell. And I felt that had a beautiful texture to it.
The pictures of Katie and Maria that are in it too are pictures that I'd taken of them, you know. So, because I always spent my whole life taking pictures of everybody.
So now, speaking of which, in the movie, there is a little scene that I feel is the most important thing of this movie.
Oh.
I mean, I did sob like a baby at the end of it, because I am close with my mom. But this, to me, was defining. There's the mom taking some photos of her daughter, and she says, you got to take a picture with your guts. You don't think, you just feel it. It's really about knowing what you're trying to say. And the daughter flips back with, Mom, do you know what a camera is? It's a mirror with a memory. Now, I'm only repeating this to you. You wrote it, so you know it. But for the audience's sake, tell me which one of those perspectives is your perspective, and can you elaborate on it?
Okay, so where that came from, I did a photo shoot with Dustin Hoffman, and because I don't know if you know my history,
not to name drop,
but I photographed a lot of very famous people in Hollywood. I was the third woman photojournalist hired by United Press in the world, way back when, I won't say when, and then as a photojournalist, I did pictures of Terry Fox, and then I started working on the Terry Fox movie that they shot in Toronto, and then I ended up in the movie world, which is why I'm a director now, I think. But I was taking pictures of Dustin Hoffman at the film festival, and he stood there and he said, I don't know who to be in front of the camera. I know when I'm taking my still photo, I know who to be when I'm playing a character or playing a part. So I have to figure out who to be. So I do believe that, and my job as a photographer, I think much like Diane Arbus, I always was trying to get behind that facade. You know, I think if you have something real, something true, something in somebody's eyes, like try and capture a feeling rather than what they want you to see, I guess, because we all have masks, right? And even in the world, you're walking around. But so I would try to do that. But I also really believe that that is what a camera is. It's a mirror with a memory. So they're both me.
Oh yeah, here's a little totally off to the side thing. Why do you think Clint Eastwood, if we're going to name drop, like why
Okay.
do you think Clint Eastwood in your credits? I
thought of not doing that when he was a Republican, but he also, I've photographed him before when I was at the Film Center, because I had the opportunity to photograph many people that came through there. And he came up to screen a movie, and I guess he was a friend of Norman's, or Norman had asked him to come up. And there's a little room there that I used to take a picture. Sometimes the library set up a light and stuff, and he was talking to me, what are you doing? I said, well, this is when I first started thinking about this movie. And he spent 3 hours talking to me about what I should do, how I should do it, don't give up. He was so generous with his time. He got them to bring some beers and just sat and talked to me. He took the time to talk to me, and he said, this is going to be a hard film to do, but you sound really passionate about it, and I think you should do it. Never give up. That's what he said to me. So that always stuck with me. I thought, because there are times I just throw it away when I didn't get funding or whatever and not think about it for a year. And then finally, when I could get a Canon 7D, a very small camera that's like a still camera. It's almost like it was synchronicity, like it all fell into place. I now have a camera I can shoot a movie with that's like a still camera. When I used to go out and wander around the world and take pictures, I can just go and shoot a movie now, right? The technology is so great. And Katie was the right age. So it's, it was pretty cool. I also wanted to be able to just take the drama out into the real world, which we did somewhat, because the camera's so small, it's very unobtrusive, so you can do that, and people don't notice that you're shooting a movie, So, and actor was amazing. I mean, everything just fell into place because the actors are owners of the film along with me. It's an actor co-op, and then Telefilm came in for completion financing because I just went off and shot it, and then I edited it, and you're always nervous thinking, oh, nobody's going to like it, but then they loved it, and they came in with money to finish the film because it costs a lot to finish, so. It just all fell into place, and I was very lucky.
I didn't realize how ideal that would be for you, having a camera become a video camera, kind of.
Because like a camera's like an extension of my hand, sort of. So I didn't DP the whole thing. I had a bunch of friends that came on, and everyone was very generous with their time again because I had no money. So everybody put a couple of days in, but I shot a lot of the film myself.
Yeah, I thought your shots of outside of downtown Toronto were just beautiful. There was some really there was something about there was something about the colors that seemed to pop a little bit, and and the lighting and the lights, how they all, I don't know how did you capture that? And it seemed to be quite consistent throughout the whole film.
The camera's pretty amazing, and if you know how to use it properly, that camera, it looks to me as good as film or even better, maybe,
Yeah.
And we didn't light a lot. A lot of it was just available lighting. And we did light in the scenes that were, I shot at my house. This room that I'm in right now is in the movie. So we shot it here. We shot it at an amazing place called the Sideshow Cafe. That's a good story. Where I was looking for a cafe that they could hang around in. And of course, everything was Starbucks or something. I was looking for an independent one. And I was driving along Gerrard because my parents live around Jones and Gerrard. And my parents are in the movie. Those are my parents, the old people that are in the movie.
Where she goes into the house.
Yeah, those are my parents. That's her grandparents. So I turned around Gerrard and I saw the Sideshow Cafe, and I just screamed to a halt. And I also wanted sort of a circus or performance place, and so it was attached to the circus school.
Oh.
So it was like, that's another thing that was kind of meant to be. And then upstairs they had places that artists lived, so we used that as the artist loft that she moved into, so that all our locations were there. And the address is 1313 Gerrard Street, and 13 is my lucky number. Believe in stuff like that.
I do, yeah.
So it was amazing. We really didn't have to art direct it at all.
Yeah. So is it harder to write, because you are the mom and the writer, is it harder to write from the mom's perspective when telling this story because it is removed from you, but as well a little bit a part of you? Or is it harder to write from the daughter's perspective in this movie?
Well, for me, it's the daughter's point of view. The film is the daughter's point of view for sure. Although the stories are kind of parallel and both are as important in the film. And a lot of the photography stuff, I don't think either of them was easier. I'm just trying to think. You know, it was really important to me to put a lot about my thoughts about photography because it's been such a large part of my life in this film, and trying to come up with a way to do that, and then came up with the idea of the video camera. And I think that I was able to get a lot of her feelings out as well. That was a device that I used to talk about photography and also to explain to her daughter what was going on. So that was good. And the other stuff just kind of, it's hard to say, it just kind of happened. It kind of fell into place. I had a lot of ideas, and then, you know, I'd mix them around, and then we had a couple of readings. And I remember Katie saying to me, wow, these scenes are playing a lot better than I thought they were going to play when, you know, from a reading, because, you know, it's interesting. I tend to write in a minimal way. I don't like a lot of dialogue. I'm a very visual person. Right. And I think, you know, Paris, Texas, I love that film because the first 10 minutes of it has no dialogue, right? So not that I was looking for no dialogue, but I think I look for dialogue, or try to write dialogue that expresses feelings and doesn't blah, 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 blah too much.
Right.
So that's the difficulty, I think. It's not necessarily which character, but I think the difficulty is in honing it down so that you don't say too much, but you still have the emotional core and be able to tell the story.
Okay. So
I'm blabbing too much, too.
No, I love it.
Shorter answer.
I love a talker. I love a talker. So please talk. I'm really looking forward to audiences seeing on November 22nd, Looking as the Original Sin. That will be at the Carlton in Toronto, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. It goes nationally, and people from all across the country can see it. But we would love for you to keep us posted on what you've got coming up for the future. But also, you know, when it does reach milestones, let us know.
Okay, I will. It's just been great talking to you.
Yeah, I've absolutely enjoyed it.